Welcome. This is Crime Queen, and if you're joining us for the first time, this is the channel where we get excited about love. This is where we ignite that which dwells from within us, that which comes alive, makes us smile. Hence, we say the crimson light is life. So, the crimson light is our journey to actualizing self love. This is where we are having fun with words and numbers, numerology to be precise. Of course, we are reminding ourselves to laugh and to smile, because when we laugh and we smile, we are increasing the endorphin, the happy hormone in our bodies. And that's the happy hormone as well that seemed to have been very present or needed when Abraham and Sarah in the biblical story had come together to having their child. This is what we have seen has transpired in the name change, that when the names were changed, there seemed to have been an aha, this is it, an aha moment, which also we could say looked like an 8. But there was aha. There was also Ra in common. They had that in common. We could say Raha, or with the HAR, ha, there, of course, depending which accent we are laughing with, aha, aha, ara, those, and we also learn that the ra is also light, so when we see that evident in these names. So both Sarah would have had light, the Ra element, or Ra, R-A-H, or R-A, or Raha, and so, or even yes, or changing these letters round, even with Sarah, it's like aha. Those we see the laughter element or the joyous element seem to be very present in both names. But that was when the names were changed, because of course these were the original names. So there was Raheh, there was Ra in Abraham as well. But so there was light in that sense, but there seemed to have been, this was missing. They didn't have a ladder to go up to the light. They didn't have that. That was not present. And that was only introduced when when Sarah, of course, with her eye hair, which would also denote an eye, like an eye, she was able to have enough wisdom to say to her maid, or say to her husband, I'm going to offer you my maid. But that was hers, her maid. She owned her maid. Her maid was at her disposal, so she offered her maid to her husband. Of course, Hagar, when we use the word maid, could be construed as having different layers in this sense. So we know, like, the word maid has been I didn't check in the dictionary, for instance, but I know it has been also perceived, or has been in relation to one's virginity. So one could say, for instance, she offered her maid to her husband, but also it would be said that that was her name, that was said her name. And we know through the stories as well, one could be called by a certain name, maybe called Hagar. Maybe that was it could have been her Egyptian name. It could have been her Egyptian name, because it was said, of course, that that was her Egyptian maid. She took her maid with her. Now that could also have meant that she was still a virgin when she left Egypt. Because the word Egyptian, let's see, I've done the numerical value for Egyptian. I think it is 10. Now, if it is 10, that would mean EGYPTIAN. Oh, pen, please. I've been leaving it exposed for too long. Okay, so this is 5777. We have 3 sevens here and 2915. All right. So this is I'm just counting like this to make it easier because I seem to be more accurate this way. So this is 14, 15, 16. 16 and 21. Let's do that. 21 and 16 and 5. Okay, so that would be 21. Okay, 21, so that would be 42. Let's just do this. This is 7, this is 37 and 5. 5 and 7 is 12, and that would be 42. Okay, let's just double check. So Egyptian, this is 5 and 1, 6, 6 and 9 is 15, and 2, 17, 17 and 21, 17 and 21, that makes a difference now. This is 8, this is 38 and 5, 38 and 5, this is 12, 13, so this is 43. 43. Okay, so that would mean 7. Okay, so Egyptian equals 7. Now, that would also denote if she took her maid with her, her Egyptian maid, her maid was Egyptian, and it was 7. 7 denotes wholeness, completeness, completion in that sense. And of course, it also is the equivalent to when we write the number 1. When we write the word 1, it also equals 7. So there might be a confirmation of looking at this in another sense, that she took her maid with her. She was intact, so to speak, when she left Egypt. Now, if we were to also have the story of taking her maid with her, her maid would be her helper, and her maid would be her helper in this sense, and her helper was to have a child with, this is really interesting. This is interesting in the sense that I am now really wanting to believe that this was her Egyptian name. This was her Egyptian name, and being in Egypt, she gained that ladder where she. Okay, so let's stick to the story in the literal sense of how it is conveyed, because God said to her that, and after having a son, that was after having a son, Hagar having the son with Abram. So they had all these in common. There were 3 entities having these A's in common, 3 A's in common. They had 6 A's in common. Now that is the number 6 for creation. God created man on the 6th day. So we see that is one aspect here. We also see that Abram equals 17, which equals God. That is 8. But also Hagar equaled 8 as well. 2 and 6, 26 equals 8. So they had that in common. Hagar and Sarah and Abram was able to have a child because they had the same numerical value, 8 and H. They were able to do that, have that numerical value. And when we add 8 and 8 together, that is 16. 16, 1 and 6 is 7. So 1 and 6 is 7. equals 7. That's plus. And then we have, so they had the child Ishmael, whose numerical value is 4. But that's 31. We see 31 equals father. And when we do the numerical value for father, father is actually 31. And we see that Ishmael was promised to be the father of many sons. So we see the numerical value comes down here perfectly. This 64 is when I've added all these numerical values here. All right, so for Sarah and her husband to conceive, God changes their names and add the H to each name. That is Sarah and Abraham. This H seemed to have come down from, or as Hagar had this name, it's added to Sarah here. Instead of Sarah having I, she now has H. But instead of having the numerical value of 21, she now has 20. Now 20 is the 2 equals that 2 under the sacrifice column, where 2 really is like the business. 2 is the business. 2 is where the beehive is. 2 is where hands are shaken on deals. The 2 is where subjects of all manner are discussed, agreements, and people are having fun and drinking of the bread of and the wine, and drinking of the wine, which denotes the blood of Christ, and breaking of bread, which denotes the flesh. Of course, we know wine also equals 3, and not wine. Wine equals 6. That means that's 2 3s. And of course, blood equals 3, which equals the same numerical value as bread and blood is both 3. So we see how this happened here, and I call this the bucket. This is when we see this K and this T. In fact, these two row seem to be what really seals an agreement. This is where agreements are sealed. This is what I would say. And we see that's 2 3s in that column is also 6. And so here we have this 2 here. Yes. So 2 here might be also showing the wisdom of Sarah, or Sarah, because she was the one who suggested having the 2 sons, or having conceived, or introducing her husband and her maid together. So this 2 here is really giving a lot of credence to her wisdom, you could say, having that 2 here. And Abram, the numerical value, as I say, is still 26, still holds. Well, should it really be 26? Well, yes, it is 26 because he was 17 before. So it's like there has been a change now. So whatever was learned from that numerical value with Hagar, it's like Abraham adopts this frequency, or this he adopts this numerical value. That value, he has learned something. His eye has opened. It is not just 17 like 1 to 7. He goes back, or perhaps he has now got that 2. Now the 2 where the 2 2s can 2 2s are 4. That 2 can marry into that agreement. There he's not only having the similar the same letters with his wife here, which shows where they have that exclamation or that aha, they still maintain that two and two here is still showing where agreements are being, that there's an agreement that takes place there. That agreement, and in his name has in his numerical value of 26, is also that 6 might be a way of repeating or reflecting the sixth day of creation. The six, that six that goes into the sixfold bonding that happens in the BKT under these two column here. Under the two column here, there's also another way of showing this six, how that six happens. For each sun under the two column here, we see that the letter A also has 3 strokes to it. These 3 strokes may also indicate the Trinity that has been in each of this making of each son. That is in the making of each son, whether it was Ishmael or Isaac, who was the biological son of Sarah. So there we see, but the other thing that has intrigued me is before having this second son or first son, we see the 3 names, each share 5 letters. Now that I find very intriguing. Why 5? Why 5 letters? What I am saying here is that 3 5s are 15, which reflects the new, this 5 is 3 5s, it reflects the new column, and here we have 6 again, here the 6 that I have been talking about. So there's 6 being reflected here, and that new 3 5s, 15, 1 and 5 is 6. So we are saying that there would be two sons, perhaps that 26 in Abraham's name, in Abraham's numerical value, like it is also in Hagar's as 26. Perhaps it's really a reflection of what happens in that middle section here of when we add 4, 5 and 6, we get 15, and so that gives us 6 here. 4, 5, 6, that gives us 6 here, and when we add these 3, this numerical values here, 5, 10, 15, we also get 6 here. 5, 10, 15, 1 and 6. 1 and 6 is, 15, 1 and 5 is 6. So we see how we get 6 here and the 6 here. And so perhaps the 2 that appears in Hagar, 2 appears in Hagar, that shows 6, and 2 appears in Sarah, because that 2, Sarah has also got that 2 here. So there is 2 there in Hagar, 2 in Sarah, and each person has this 2. So 2 2s, 2 3s are 6. But that 6 also reflects in the number 2. So I would like to concentrate on the 3 2s reflecting in this section. This is where agreements are reflected, to have had this agreement, to have had this union, to have these children. This happened here. It happened, there was an agreement reflected between Hagar and Sarah. There was also a agreement reflected with Sarah and her husband. And there was also a agreement reflected between Abraham and Hagar. So we see the three twos appear in this section here. It would not have happened either way of not having this agreement. So it's as if the two is reflecting agreement. It reflects, it's not as if, that's what two does. It reflects agreement, it reflects union, so that is what happens. However, in the end, we see that the only change in numerical value of the names were in Sarah having 20, which is a clean 2 if you like, and then Hagar and Abraham still maintain the 6 in their numerical value as 26, and Abraham has 26, Hagar has 26. Each of these 26 appears here. Hagar's 26 appears in this 6 here. It's a small 6, but I hope you can see it here. It's 6, and Abraham's 6 is maintained under the new column here. So these are still saying that there were two sons, Hagar's son and Sarah's son. So basically the two sons each equals 6. Now I think the word son equals 3, but I'll just do that here, S-O-N, because S-U-N is 9. Oh, I have been exposing my pen. So S-O-N is 5, 6, 1. So son equals 12. So we see a 2 here, but when we add 1 and 2 together, it equals 3. So 3, of course, perhaps this 3, the two sons are being reflected. When we add the two sons together, 3 and 3 is 6, and is being reflected both up and down. As above, so below. Okay, so this may sound a little, well, intricate, but I hope you get it. I'm just seeing that there are many layers to this story, but it's all still showing that when Eve ate of the apple, or we say apple now, the Bible I don't think says apple, but the word apple I think equals 5. Just wanting to ensure that that's the case and not A-P-P-L-E. I have done it before. This is 5, 3, 7, 7, and 1. So this is 8 and 7, that's 15, and 7 is 22, and 1, 23. So 5. Apple is 5. Yes. And so this is what we are talking about, that those, so the new, it's like the number 5 is reflected here in the story of Adam and Eve, and of Eve, in particular of Christ, and we see how laughter, of course, had generated this is a beginning. So we see that that story was really giving a new cycle. The story of Sarah and her husband is really presenting a new cycle of life. This new cycle, of course, is let me do the numerical value, but the new cycle is reflected in the H-A that had been added to Abraham, who has the seed. So there was a new birth. A new birth was happening there. And if we also add this H and 9, which is 8 and 9, of course we would have 8 and 9 would be 17. Yes, 17. So that would mean 17 would also mean 8. That would denote the eye. So there we are saying the eye is being reflected, or the third eye is being reflected here again. So I would like to add the numerical value for 26 we had for Sarah, who is 2, and her husband, of course, was 8, so that was 10. And that is really where I've been saying that 10 is reflective of a newness. This is another, it's like when mother has given birth to the child, you can see where mother is and where the child is. There is the 10 hair. This is the newness. It's like the magician has all the ingredients, or everything he needs, or the scientist has everything he needs and is ready to have to create something new, a new compound, a new finding, or something is happening here. And that's what had happened with Sarah and her husband having this new child. In fact, let's do the numerical value for Isaac. ISAAC, and see what happens here. So this is 3, 1, 1, and 1, and 9. And this, isn't it amazing, really? Those 3 ones here, we see that the A's, in fact, I'm going to really explore this because there is just so much more to it. So there are 2 A's here, which is what mother had. It's like sons are forever wanting to have the mother's mark, perhaps. It's like I say that Christ was, his preaching for the bread, which equaled 3, was, and blood, which also equals 3, was forever talking about or presenting the feminine aspect. That's what I got. It's like when he said, I am a worm, and it meant as if woman. He kept wanting to really present mother before, and also in the name Christ, which is 5, is as if presenting Eve in that name. So let's see what that is. This is 10 and 5 is also 15 here. So that is really, this is very interesting. So like I mentioned, having these 2 3s that we saw, the 2 6s, sorry, the 6 for the top and the bottom, reflecting both sons. Here we have the other 6. So this is confirmation of the 6 being reflected in the middle of, I hadn't even done this numerical value, but this is what is transpiring here. So 15 here is really amazing. So the 15 takes us here into this new column. So both sons are in that new column as well. I hope you have found this enlightening. Of course, it's an area to explore at depth and have more clarity, because I'm still trying to get the ideas in a comprehensive manner, and I'm doing this intuitively. And in fact, I just spot something else, so I'm going to come back to this presentation, and because I think it's really delicious. Yes, I hope you have enjoyed this. I hope you have found it fun and enlightening. And if you like this presentation, click the like button and share, because this is how we do it. We share to actualizing soulful love. In the meantime, stay blessed, be bright, be blissful, and be filled, because we are planting new seeds. Namaste, and stay ignited. Thank you for watching. And spill over with love.